space to be a joyful space. So what's bringing you joy right now?
So we got a new puppy just last week. It's the
Oh
1
my
week
God.
anniversary of the puppy. I don't have her here in the studio with me, but she's the tiniest little dachshund. She has long hair. It's
Oh,
like kind of spiky and beautiful. And she's just 3 months old. Her name is Rita Elizabeth. And
period.
she's, of course, and so she has brought me a lot of joy because we have another dachshund whose name is Dottie Gingersnap. And she's like more of the fierce, fighty dachshund. And this one's like a sleepy, dopey one. So that has
Okay.
brought me a lot of joy.
Are they getting along?
They are, yes.
Uh,
They bite each other's faces off, but then they also love each other. So,
I love that.
it's working out so far. But yeah,
I
definitely
love
getting a puppy
bites.
helps. Oh my God, Khalil Green is here. It's like a celebrity's in the room.
Hi, Khalil. I have a pup. He put him in the bedroom because he'll just be running around, and
Yeah,
I want to pay attention to you. But he's 7 years old. He acts like he's one. He's 60 pounds. He acts like he's 10 pounds.
I love it.
He's like
Yeah.
a pit lab. His name is Corey with a K because I
Oh,
wanted to
good.
black it up. I was like, I have a white
Yes.
husband. The dog is black. The house is black. Period.
Yes. So
um,
they talked about like the black wife effect on white men.
I've seen.
Is there like a black effect on dogs also? Is their life like much more opulent and beautiful and thoughtful and well seasoned?
Yes, there is. It's that they don't kiss me on the mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Yes.
the black effect. He
Yes.
kisses my husband in the mouth all the time, but he knows we don't do the mouth.
Love that he understands that. Yes.
He understands that. What's bringing me joy? I was just telling before you got on here that I got tickets to Beyonce last minute. Well, I guess not last minute. It's happening next week, but I wasn't gonna go because I spent. She took all my money for Renaissance. She took all of it. And I wasn't sure if I was going to have it up for Cowboy Carter, but
You
the
got to make
tickets
it.
dropped, so I made it. So
Okay.
I'm making it, and I'm wearing my little sticky sweet Beyonce shirt.
We
I got
love
my. I'm telling you, she got all my money. Look at the merch. She got all of it.
all your money. I
So we're
believe
doing
it.
it. We're doing it.
I have a
Um,
cowboy hat because I thought that I could pull that off, but Brandon, no, sir. It just
it's not it.
because
It's not
like
it.
from the back, I look like a man. So with the cowboy hat on, I look like a short, shitty man, So I can't. Then I turn
You're,
around and it's me and I look like a cartoon. It's not giving like cool, sexy like I thought it was gonna.
you're like that's not
It's
the
not.
energy. That's not
No,
the
I was like,
energy.
I want to do like the Beyonce cowboy thing. And I ended up looking more at Brokeback Mountain than
Which not bad. Different
no
vibes.
shade to that, but yeah,
Okay,
it's
but we're trying to look at Beyonce.
I
Absolutely.
was trying to do a little thing and I was like, oh God, no, it's not gonna
Yeah.
work.
I have like two cowboy hats, but here's the deal. I get hot. And so
Yeah,
like I feel like though when you put the hat on, you have to commit because then you have hat hair. And I don't have
that's true.
time. I don't have time to pick it out. So I feel like I need like a ventilated cowboy hat. A
You gotta
hat
get
with holes.
a straw hat. I also have a collection of they're not fedoras, but they're like what you would see a really attractive black man wearing.
Uh-huh.
Because as a lesbian, right,
Yes.
like in New York City, the first people to really style me were black men. That's
Oh
like,
my
I would go to
gosh.
the black barber shop because they would cut my hair in my neighborhood. They were like, whatever, like,
I was
we'll
gonna say
do
the
it.
same. This like
Oh,
you're giving.
so literally the first time I went to the black barber shop, incredible. And they did like the whole fade, the whole thing, but they shaved my widow's peak. I got like straight line.
Oh, they gave you the line.
And I was like, listen, we can't do that again. Okay. We can't.
I love it all. I love it all, but not this. Please don't.
Yeah, so we don't do that. But like literally like the first people I emulated as far as like trying to dress more masculine but still have it be like really stylish were black men because they always had
Yeah.
color in their suits. They were always had great shoes. They always had real cool hats. So I had like my like Brooklyn whole experience was very Bed-Stuy driven.
Yes. I was gonna ask about, like being non-binary. I'm non-binary
Yeah.
myself, and I feel like the fashion can be such a journey. So what
Yeah.
was your journey to, I mean, even still for me, like some days I'm like, I want to be more masked, I want to be more
Sure.
femme, and like how do you style yourself, especially when you're doing so much public appearances
Mhm.
and people get to perceive you. So how did you go about, or how's your style evolved?
It's hard. So there are like phases to it. So I grew up and I was like pretty femme looking.
Hmm.
And then I remember my friend Andrea was in hair school and she's like, you got to cut your hair. You'll never get a girlfriend. Like people are never going to know you're a lesbian because you act so like, like gay, like, but not gay guy. You act gay guy, not gay girl. And
Yes,
so I
yes.
got the haircut, right? We did that. And then for a while, I it was kind of almost like goth was like the thing. This is like I came out in 1999. So
Okay.
my early 2000s time was very like emo, very scene, very like the black and white hair and the lip ring and very alt. And that was like making me feel like at least different. And then I kind of moved into my professional career where I started wearing suits and I really enjoyed that. But then around 27, 28, your body changes. And I was starting
Yes.
to like have a body of a woman and not of like a young, like sort of like thinner, smaller, less developed person. I didn't really have hips yet or anything.
Sure.
And when that happened, I think that was really a struggle because it's like you want to look a certain way in your mind, you feel you look a certain way, and then you catch a picture or a mirror and you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that's not even me. So I sort of then I moved from like, okay, jackets are too much. So then I was doing like the vest, rolled
Oh, yeah, yeah,
sleeve.
yeah. Oh, babe, best era down.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Familiar.
now we're
Yes.
now we're in 2015, okay?
Yes.
You can tell with the best sleeves. And then I was so staunch about not buying women's clothing. I was very strict. I will only buy men's clothing because women's clothing gave me a lot of like dysphoria, both
Sure.
in the sizing and in the way they dart things, and like it didn't fit boxy enough the way I wanted it to be. And then I got a breast reduction, and now we were back in business. I was like, okay, this is
Yes.
great. And then some more time passed. I got married. I got more comfortable with like my general just self. And then 4 years ago, I got my first top surgery.
Mm.
And I think that this is something that non-binary and trans people should know is sometimes you have this dream that you'll get that the surgery, whatever it is, top surgery or breast implants or facial feminization, whatever it is, and
Yep.
it'll fix you. You'll be done, it'll be one time and everything will be perfect. And unfortunately, sometimes that's just not the case. So for me, I went from having a chest that I didn't like, but that was aesthetically very well done to a very botched job on the first one. There was a lot of
Oh,
skin and tissue left over, so I ended up with like man boobs is the best way to explain it. I had
yeah.
a lot of tissue on the sides that caused a lot of pain. And I really thought if I put on like a dress shirt, I looked like it just you could see it funny. I couldn't wear like a white t-shirt, nothing. Taking your shirt off, forget it. It was never going to
Yeah.
happen. So I went through that period. And actually on TikTok, I started watching this surgeon, Dr. Gallagher, and she talked about revisions. This is the first time I ever even heard about a revision for top surgery. And so I like, when I like sent her pictures of my chest and I was like, can you fix this? And she was like,
Yeah.
I can. I
Oh my
can.
God.
And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, draw me a picture of what you want your chest to look like. And I was like, it was
All
the first
right.
time I had a female doctor, right? And it was the
Yeah.
first time I went to a gender specialist. And it was the first time that somebody actually cared about what I wanted it to look like, not what my chest would look
Oof.
like in their book, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
so I went down and I met with her and I drew it. I was like, I want like cuts on the side, like a Ken doll. And then I want it flat here, but I don't want it flat like where it looks like a mastectomy, I want it, but I don't want pecs because I had such trauma about the man boob thing.
Yeah.
And she was like, I can do that.
Oh my God.
And I woke up and I was like, I remember thinking like, oh my God, she did. And I hadn't even seen it yet. And when my mom saw it for the first time, she was like, oh my God, you look like yourself. That's perfect. No nips.
Wow.
No nipples,
Wow.
which is something I didn't even know was possible. But so if you look at my chest, it looks like a Ken doll. There's like a little cut on the side and a
Yeah.
straight like this, but not a super pec, no nipples. And that was going back to how you dress yourself. I was able to just throw on a t-shirt and feel really comfortable. The sides, shirts buttoned, men's shirts buttoned better for me. So as
Yeah.
I started to sort of like really enjoy and feel comfortable, honestly, not even enjoy, I didn't think about it. I never thought about my chest again after that. I felt normal.
That's so
And so
beautiful.
then I started buying women's clothing again, which I think is sort of unusual because I
Yeah.
wasn't so triggered by women's clothing. So, like these overalls that I wear a lot that everybody loves are women's, but they're like from REI, but they fit better than men's because men's are so long. So I ended up like coming full circle back to this true non binary experience, which was like I neutralized the part of my body that I was most uncomfortable with. I was lucky to find that particular surgeon. And then when I buy clothes, I just buy what fits and feels good. I'm not so worried about who it's been made for.
Yes. Is there wait, I have so many questions. The
Yeah.
first being, one about what do you gravitate to? What kind of clothes do you think you gravitate to now most?
Mhm.
Regardless of gender, but just like the style, the colors, the what like brings you joy in terms of the wardrobe?
So on the regular day, I'm still like a t-shirt and jeans person. I'm like still the little tomboy I was at 8 years old that I sort of like had to put away through my teenage years and now we come back to.
Yes.
And I find myself wearing a lot of the things I would have worn when I was a kid that I like overalls or t-shirts or jeans or whatever. I would say, you know who's doing really good non-binary clothing right now?
Please.
Abercrombie, which is also
Really?
yes, which is healing for me as a person who grew up with the original Abercrombie, which was
Yeah, the
very
like
not gender
traumatizing,
affirming. No.
traumatizing Abercrombie. Yes.
No, but like they do a lot of crop shirts that just fit well no matter who you are. They just look nice and clean and like their
Yeah.
jeans give you like enough room in different places. So I do wear a lot of Abercrombie. Mostly there's no label on them, stuff like that. But when it comes to getting dressed up, I love something that looks like it could be if it had like 5 more minutes a costume, but it's not, right? So it's like
That's so great.
approaching a Broadway
Yes.
costume, but it's not there
It's not
yet.
quite there.
So
Yes. Yes.
we do a lot of like John Varvatos jackets because they're a little bit more severely cut with like an interesting pinstripe on them. Um, I like the idea of like a like men's suiting that's not super modern stretchy, but like original pleated front pants, like the slightly higher waist, the belt that goes with it, like
Yeah.
two-tone shoes even I really think are interesting. And I like it for the fact of like when you go somewhere and you dress up like that, people know that you cared about coming to that event, that you put a little thought into it. You know,
Right.
you are ready to give something to the event with your presence, not just show up because you had to. Like you're
Yeah.
enjoying being there. So that's what I like to dress like now.
I love what you said about dressing kind of like reclaiming what you loved in your childhood, because that's
Yeah.
what I've been feeling a lot lately is like the
Mhm.
the full circle has been what did my kid self gravitate to before somebody told me it was wrong?
Right.
What were the colors? What were the things? Like I love overalls and I have like a bunch of
Yeah.
overalls that I just like picked up and put in my closet. But it's like, oh, getting back to my younger self because my younger
Mhm.
self knew who I was.
Yep.
And then other people start, I always say, who would I be if society never got its hands on me? And so before
Yes.
society got its hands on me, I loved color and I loved my mom's crop tops and her sports bras. So now when
Yes.
I go to the gym, people look at me crazy because I'm 6'1", dark skin, very masculine build, but I'll wear a crop top, I'll wear
Yes.
leggings,
But
I'll wear a
that's
sports
like
bra.
90s though. That's like that was
Yes,
what all the men wore even back then. It was like they
yes.
were a little bit gay back then. Yeah.
Did you ever watch Fresh
Much more
Prince of Bel-Air?
non-binary. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So Neil Long, Lisa, his
Yep.
girlfriend, is probably my style guy icon. It's very much like the plaids, the crops, the baggy
Yep.
jeans was such a vibe. I just like to be comfy and cozy, but
Yeah.
I find when I go out, like when I'm gonna do appearances and stuff, that it's been great because I have a wonderful stylist that I work with, but we're constantly trying to ride the line. Like I have a job right now with E News, and it's a very like
Mm,
panel fashion talk about it,
mhm.
and so I'm in suits, but we're trying to like always subvert it slightly.
Make it a little fun.
Yeah, make it a little more fun so I can feel, because I grew up in the church, and so suits can be also very triggering in that way.
Yes, I
It just
bet. I
it
bet.
reminds me of like you're a man.
Right.
And so like I try to like fem it up a little bit, like always
Yep.
find where's the femininity. I will say there was a period of time where I was wearing women's clothes, and then as you said, around 28, 29, my body started to shift, and then it didn't fit, and I couldn't
Right.
fit into the same things, and that was jarring. That was like such an adjustment, which no one
Mhm.
at the time I also didn't have the language for non-binary, but it's like no
Right.
one talks about how much of a flow
Mhm.
happens with your style because you're navigating your body and your gender and how
Mhm.
you want to express it. Did you have people to lean on?
No, I'm 42, so I'm really like the first of my type to
Sure.
be
Yeah.
non-binary. I mean, the people who came before me were like iconic lesbians, right? Like the Rosie O'Donnell or Rachel Maddow, like those
Yes.
folks are a little bit older, but they had like a what I would consider a more traditionally lesbian aesthetic. And
Sure.
mine was a lot more mixed. And I think it had to do with like the music and the time that I grew up in. Grunge and punk and emo and metrosexual were really blended. So I got
Yeah.
to have a more blended childhood than I think older folk people in their 50s got to have and older. And so for me, the first person I saw that I was like, ooh, that's what I wanna look like, was Adam Lambert.
Oh, yes.
Adam
Yes, yes,
Lambert,
yes.
because I was like, one, we had like a similar kind of like vibe going on, and I was like, and singing and stuff at that time, and I just thought he was so otherworldly, and it looked effortless the way that he carried the
Yeah.
masculine and the feminine, and he didn't like perform it, it just was how he was, and I was
Mhm.
like, I love this. And so then I got into like, I've always been into like my eyebrows and whatever, and like
Yeah.
microblading, and then I used to wear heavier makeup more like him. But that was the first person that I saw that I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is that's it. That's the thing that I'm looking for as far as like a possibility model goes."
Yeah.
And he was a peer more than an elder, like we're pretty much the same age. And so I think that that was really special, and to see him be on like a show that my mom watched and loved and thought he was
Right.
so cool and beautiful, and I was like, wow, people really love this person. They respect them. They think they're beautiful. And here we are, without any language or any precedent for it truly before. Because even Prince would say, and Prince was sort of like you might have thought was non binary, but Prince is not. Prince is a
Yeah.
straight man. And he did not, he
Yes.
did not like that. So I think Adam Lambert was this person that I was like, wow, okay, that's sort of that's the North Star.
Yeah. For me, I think about Lafayette on True Blood. The like very first
Yes.
scene with that character. I think his name is the actor's Nelson. But the very first scene where he confronts the like homophobic
Yep.
racist at the table, he's wearing a do
The do
rag
rag.
with
Yep.
like full eyeshadow, and I think also like some kind of crop. And when I
Yep.
saw that hit on screen, I was like, oh, it's
Yes.
possible. Oh, like
Yeah.
that. And like carrying the femme and the mask made me
Yep.
go, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm not alone in this.
Right.
There
And
are
I don't
other
have to
people.
choose.
Yes.
I used to have
Yes.
like, "Oh, I'm doing femme today," or "Oh, I'm doing butch today," and it wasn't I
Yes.
hadn't quite nailed the middle, until
Yeah.
Adam Lambert, and then I was like, "Oh,"
There we
because
go.
I liked makeup and girl stuff too, like traditional girl stuff. I didn't necessarily wanna totally give it up. I was very in theater, and I liked, like, all that kind of business, and so seeing him, I was like, "Oh, I could be like the girl version of Adam Lambert." Like, we're
Yeah.
both just meeting in the middle.
Yeah. What does it mean? What does visibility mean to you? So, like, you saw Adam Lambert, that
Mhm,
inspired you, and now you're incredibly visible. And
mhm,
I know what the importance of visibility is, and we can like have like the heady academic, but to
mm.
you, be like in your heart, growing up, not necessarily seeing images of yourself, and now getting to be an image, getting to be perceived. What does visibility mean for you or to you?
I think there's a lot of responsibility in it. And so I am a person who, first and foremost, commits to making safe and predictable decisions for the people that surround me and know me. So things like it's not just the aesthetic and the success you achieve, it's the consistency of making time for people. It's
Mm,
ensuring, like, there are some times when I'll talk to a big crowd and there'll be just like one person, and I know that they're there specifically for me. I mean, that typically people are there to see me, but you know what I mean? Like, we're like, that person knew I was coming
yes.
and they're here because,
Yes.
oh my God, they're going to see me today. And that's going to like
Yeah.
mean something. And so I'll usually like be able to spot that one person in the crowd, and then they'll wait until meet and greet's kind of over, and they'll be like, I just never saw anybody like you before, and I just really am grateful. Or I came from California to New York, or I came from wherever to see you
Mm,
because I had to like see you in person. And I'm like, I know exactly what that feels like. I know exactly
yeah.
what that feels like to want to be like, oh my God, you're real, because your regular example, day to day, maybe you don't feel like that could be real. So for me, it's always about making sure that that person feels seen and affirmed, and like, I am you. Yes, for me it was Adam Lambert. For you, it's me today. For you are that for
Yes.
somebody else. It's important that even on your worst day or when you doubt yourself, you recognize I had those same feelings too. This wasn't easy or perfect for me, and like try to be really vulnerable and raw with that person. I think that that makes a big difference in ensuring that there are more of us out there, and it's not just this thing that people think of us as these magical unicorns. Well, Brenna made it and V made it, but that's probably all they're going to allow. They're not going to allow any more people. It's booked up, and it's not booked up. There's
Yeah.
so much more room for more people like us, and so I always try to make sure that person feels really empowered to be somebody else's me. You know what I mean? You are
Yeah.
somebody's possibility model. You don't realize it, but when you're in the grocery store, there's some kid out there that's like, and that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I think about those moments as a kid seeing somebody who looked older, and I didn't know what I
Yep.
was clocking because I didn't understand my queerness yet. But you were
Right.
I was, living. I grew up in New York City, so I was in the
Yeah.
village, and I saw people, didn't know what I was looking at, but there was as you said, a possibility model that was
Right.
presented. And I think the same is true. Like for me, like I do a lot of things. I write and produce and all this stuff, but I purposely in front of the camera because about 15 years ago my mother and I became estranged. She's a born again
Mm.
Christian,
Mhm.
and I'm gay. And getting pregnant
Yes.
the first time being born was enough. You know what I'm saying? That was
Yeah.
traumatic enough. But I was so alone. It was
Yeah.
like losing my family in that way made me feel so alone, and also so um, I wasn't sure if I was good. Like I wasn't
Mm.
sure if like who I was a good
Mm.
person or like deserved to exist. And so that
Mm.
journey of getting to a place where I'm like, no, no, I do deserve to exist. It's like, oh, it's important for me to more than like writing a script and showing you a character,
Mhm.
me as a real person I feel like is more important for that kid or that adult who also has lost touch with some people
Mhm.
or also feels like, am I good? Do I deserve to exist? And it's like, if I can just remind you over and over that you deserve to exist, you belong here, that the
Mhm.
people who love you and who are excited to love you, then like that is the purpose. The rest of it is exciting and wonderful, but like letting people know they're not alone, I feel like is the importance of the visibility, especially as queer folks and especially in these always in these times, but specifically these given times.
We have a saying here, which is "You are smart, trust yourself," and that is
Ooh, I love that.
something that I tell people all the time with whatever they're doubting. But sometimes if they're doubting who they are, I'm like, they'll be like, "Well, I don't know if I'm gay." I'm like, the fact that you think about it. Most people don't think worry that they're gay unless they're
Yeah.
gay, and it's okay
Yeah.
if you're gay, or I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm non-binary actually. I'm like, most people who aren't don't think about it. They don't wonder if they could be or if they would be. You might as well try
Right.
it. Like the fact that you're wondering about it means it's worth exploring. It's an adventure. You don't have to be ashamed or feel like, what if I fail at being non-binary? What if I fail at being queer or whatever? Like then you did. Then at least you tried and now
Yeah.
you know, but it was worth going on the adventure to figure it out. And I think there's a lot of people who do feel like you said alone or estranged or second guessed by the people who are supposed to love them unconditionally. And that is the deepest pain. And it is very common pain in our community
Yeah.
because our parents say things like, well, you didn't always be like this.
Yeah. It's a
Well, what do
phase.
you mean now? Oh, now why? Because that's trendy, because that's cool. You weren't like that. I mean, look at you.
Yeah.
You grow your hair out. You could be femme again. You could do, they try to tell you who you are when you know who you are. And the thing that is hard is parents will ask me, like, I have a trans or non-binary kid, is what can I do to like help make sure their life is safe? And I'm like, all you can offer them is foundational security in your home. When they
Oof,
get out in the
yes.
world, you can't sterilize the experience for them. And part of being queer and non binary is our ability to have a thicker skin, clap back, and have resilience. And you earn that through the way that the world treats you. So you don't want to soften them so much and make it so sterile that when you need to clap back, you can't.
Right.
Or the ideas of what queer culture is are just things we see on RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, you got to give them the whole dirty, the whole difficult, and then they can
Yeah.
understand where they come from and who their elders are and that they're not alone and that it can be hard, but it's still worth doing. And you're still
Yeah.
worth being here even when it's hard.
Having a safe space to go back home when life knocks you down. My Angela talks about that, like her mom always being a safe space to come back
Yeah.
home to, knowing that you can have the conversations, the hard conversations, and also, parents being curious.
Yeah.
When 2020 happened and I kind of, was talking about race and gender, I was always talking about how can you be a better ally or a
Mhm.
co-conspirator, which was about like you being curious about what you don't know. So don't just like wait for somebody to
Yeah.
tell you, like go do your own
Mhm.
research and like even if you're not queer, knowing queer history, even if you're not trans, knowing trans history, just like
Yeah.
knowing about other people.
It's just
Um
interesting. It's just fun. It's
yeah.
like I loved learning about Italy. I'm not Italian. It was interesting,
Yes.
right? I wanted to
Yes.
try the food. I thought the people were cool. I liked the
Yeah.
songs. It didn't make me Italian. It just made me find that really fun and interesting.
Yes. And it influences and expands who you get to
Yeah,
be as a person and how you show
right.
up. You get to show up more compassionately because you see people as people and not
Yeah.
as an idea or an object. They become very real.
Do people apologize to you for being straight? Because a lot of folks will be like, "Oh my god, I wish I was gay. I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Whatever."
Yeah, 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 yeah. I get a lot of like, I wish I was gay. I really want to
Yeah.
be gay.
They're like, "I love
Uh,
this. I wish I was gay. I'm so sorry." Like, Cami Crawford and I are pals, and Cami is
yeah.
forever being like, "God, I just hate myself. I just love men, though. I love my boyfriend." I'm like, "Cami, I love your
It's
boyfriend
okay.
too. It's okay. You don't
It's
have
all
to be
right.
gay to come to the gay stuff." But what was funny about her, we were at the DNC and we were in the middle of an interview.
Yeah.
And for those of you who aren't remembering, Cami Crawford was the co-host of Catfish. She's incredibly hilarious woman. She was former pageant queen and all kinds of stuff. So we're doing the thing, and the Advocate had come out with their list of top gay influencers, and Cami was number one on the list.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Cami, you're number one. And she's like, we have to call them. What do I do? She's like, I don't want to say I'm not because then people are gonna think, oh, why is something wrong with that? But I'm not. And
Yeah.
I'm like, Cami, you have to call them. She's like, "Why would?" But I never interviewed for this or anything. I
Yeah.
did. She was panicking because she was a she. One, you don't want to make it seem like it's a bad thing to be on,
Of
but two,
course,
you
of
don't want to take
course.
something from somebody else. And she's like, "We have to call them right now." I was like, "Kimmy, it's because you're always with the dolls, babe. You're always with the gays and the dolls, and they
Yes,
just
yes.
assumed because you don't put your man on main ever, you
Right,
keep him
right.
private, that you must be in the loop." I was like, "Listen, this has been happening to my sister our whole life. Every time we go out to dinner together, they think she's my wife. This is just
That's
the problem with you hanging
yeah,
out with me. People are going to think you're gay."
that's an
And
incredible
she
mistake.
called the Advocate and they took her off the list kind of quietly, but it was like the funniest thing. I was like, "You finally got in, and now you want
You
to
got
call him and tell him
in.
no?"
Number one is crazy.
Number one.
Like to be on the list would be wild, but to be like number one
I
on
was
the
number
list,
5. I was like, "Kimmy."
what do I know? What am I doing wrong?
I know. Oh my god, that was one of the funniest
That's
times. I was like,
hilarious.
"See, you apologize too much for being straight, and now the gays have accepted you, and now
They've
you have to
accepted you.
call
They
and
brought
tell
you
them you're not
in.
gay.
You're an honorary gay.
You're an
I want to
honorary
ask you
gay." Oh my god,
in
she's the
relation.
best.
Say that again.
She's the best. She's just like the funniest, greatest person.
Sounds funny. Sounds like in that moment sounds perfect.
Just
Um,
panicking.
I know because you're like, am I co-opting? I'm like, they're gonna the backlash, all of it.
Yep.
What can I ask you about the first time you felt affirmed as non-binary romantically, and what was
Sure.
that like?
Sure. So I am really actually not that good with pronouns.
Okay.
I like like because again I'm much older. I'm like 20 years older than a lot of the kids that sort of came up with and pioneered and championed and socialized those words.
Yeah.
So sometimes I like forget or I don't think of it or I don't do it every time. And this was like go back with me probably like 7 years, right? Like when
Yeah.
we first started using them. And I wasn't like it didn't click for me right away, but it did click for my wife. And we were just dating at this
Mm.
time. And she never missed. And if somebody got it wrong for me, she would correct them. And I was like,
Wow.
so back when I was still nervous about like bringing it in. I think I was like a little insecure about bringing it in because
Sure.
I
Same.
didn't want to get, I was like very sensitive about being they, them at that time, like so early. I was like a little bit worried that it was like inconveniencing people or like that it was going to go
Yeah.
away or that I hadn't earned it or whatever, or I was too old for it or whatever the case may be. But she never missed it. And she, across the board, like just perfected it. And I think that originally was very affirming. And then a couple times I got written about as non-binary TikToker V Spear. And I was like, man, they really got to always add something to it. Like, and I
Yes.
thought that
Yes.
that was great because I was like, okay, that's like an affirming, they stopped saying LGBTQIA, which is also a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
We're not all the letters, okay? We're all a community,
Yes.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
not everybody is everyone. And when they're like, "You're an LGBTQIA plus creator," I'm like, "I'm not. I'm a lesbian and I'm binary." But there are,
Yes.
you can't be all of them at once, maybe. So,
Right. Right. Right.
but so I think that was really affirming for me. Um, was when
When
she
you
was really serious about it.
were you when you realized you were when did you realize you were non-binary? Did the pronouns come first or did you
I
Did
think
it
I
change?
knew when I was like 8 years old, which is when most people know that they're gay. You have your first like, I thought I was gay when I was like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I did you? Were you like an 8-year-old
Oh,
gay?
an 8-year-old, I was like, yeah, I
Fully.
was grinding to, anyways.
Yes.
Yes.
So I was 8 and I remember being in a dentist's office and I was wearing a backwards pink hat and I was waiting for my sister and this woman said to me, "Are you a little boy or a little girl?" And I was like, and I did not answer because we don't talk to strangers, but that stuck with me for
Yes.
like days. And then I told my mother about it and she was like, "I'm gonna find her and beat her up. Like, who would ask a child that question?" But
Yes.
like, I think from that moment, I questioned one, there was something that I enjoyed about her not knowing. And I didn't know what that
Mm.
meant because I was like 8, right? But there was something about it that was like, oh, that's actually quite comfortable. Like you can't tell. I felt like I had like
Yeah.
done something, achieved something. And then I remember thinking about that well my whole life that like that was what I hoped for was that people didn't see me as a gender or a sexuality first and foremost, but so much as like an entity,
Yes.
like a fairy or like a saint or like a cartoon or something. I was
Yes.
just
Yes.
happier with that than I was them thinking about me in any other kind of like gender specific or sexuality specific way.
Yeah. I think
What
when I
about
was
you?
8, I used to when I was 8, I would dress up. I had a twin sister, her name was Tana, I don't know why, but I would dress
Yep.
up as Tana, I'd put on, like my mom was an actress, so she actually had wigs in the house, but I would also just put
Oh,
on a shirt for my
fun.
head and, like and dress up, and I remember asking myself, "Do I wanna be a girl?" And the answer
Mhm.
was, "No," but then it was
Mhm.
like, "Do I wanna be a boy?" And I was kind of like, I don't" like, I didn't care. But there
Right.
was such a I grew up with, 3 generations of women. I
Mm.
was the only male in the house, and so I grew up with a lot of "you are the man of the house," and
Uh,
so I grew up with a lot of people telling me that I was a boy and telling me that I was a man, and there was a lot of pressure on how to be a man.
mhm.
But there was also, like, such tension with my femininity, and,
Mm.
like, not being allowed to, and so I felt like a lot of my childhood, teenage years, and even college was about and, even starting out as an actor, trying to be a leading man, just, like,
Mhm.
putting myself in that box,
Mhm.
and then it wasn't until I think, like, 2020 when I started to really decide, "Oh, let me learn about these other parts of the
Mhm. Yeah.
LGBTQIA," when I started hearing people talk about the non-binary experience, like I was over there on my computer watching YouTube videos of people talking about it, and I started weeping because it
Mhm.
just felt like it was like, oh my God, that's exactly the experience that I've been having. And then I was scared because I had just become so proud as like a black gay man. And I was
Yeah. You're
so
like,
like
"Now I gotta switch."
incredibly, literally, literally, I was like so proud, so like I'm a black gay man, I'm representing. And then it was like, oh, I think I'm non-binary. And I
Yep.
was like, oh, I'm gonna lose all of my community this way.
Right?
And my husband came out when I was crying and he was like, what's wrong? And I said, I think I'm non-binary. And he was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Obviously,
And
yeah.
right? It was like it was so calming. And
Mhm.
that day, I think I also talked to Alok, who they're
Oh,
incredible.
yeah. Yep.
And they suggested, you don't have to tell anybody yet. You
Great.
can let it be for you,
Yep.
figure it out, and, like, let it live, and then you can start telling. So, like, for about a year or so, I just, like, kept the same pronouns, kept whatever, and then
Yeah.
I went slowly was, like, he, they. Same thing, I, like, didn't wanna inconvenience people, so I
Yeah.
would say I said and I wrote this in my book, I said, like, "The he is for you, so you don't have to feel crazy about messing up,
Yep.
and then they is for me." And then maybe, like, a year ago, I was like, I think it's just
It's
they,
all
them. I think it's just they, them, theirs, babe." And we'll
well,
get through it
yeah.
together. We'll mess up the pronouns, we'll get through it together, but it's a they, them, theirs.
Will live, yes. I've had back and forth even on they, them to this day. So the other thing that was very affirming is my dad used to give us Valentine's cards. My dad's a lovely, very sweet man. When I came out to him as gay, he was like, "Yeah, you get that from me. I like girls too." Like, just was completely unfazed.
Incredible,
Did
incredible.
not care.
Yeah,
But he had given me a card because you know how men pick things. He just went
sure.
and picked out some cards, right? But one had
Yeah,
Snoopy, one had a cat for my sister, and one had like a truck for my brother. The
yeah.
Snoopy one he gave to me, and it said to my favorite son in small print on the bottom. Like it was like Snoopy. And then it said to my favorite son, Happy Valentine's Day. So when I opened this, I was like maybe 12 or 13, and I was like,
Gagged.
to this day, we talk about that card and like I really like because to be my father's son what was like really special. And I did always help him all the time and I fulfilled that role even though I wasn't a boy, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So it was
sure.
like very affirming in his relationship to me. And this is way before I came out. And so that was another wonderful affirming accident that he definitely was like, well, and I had a brother. Okay. So, like, to be
Yeah.
his favorite son was like, whoa.
We're like,
And my brother was
whoa.
named for him. This is Paul Jr. So I was
Oh my
like,
goodness.
oh, he's like, well, you are, you do help me more than the other one. Like,
Listen, the
if I'm
queers
going to pick a
overachieve.
favorite. So then it became like a big
Overachieving.
joke forever until my actual brother was like, it really hurts me when you say that. And I'm like, grow up, be a man, stop it. So,
Literally, truly.
but then I recently had an experience where I had to like question the they them pronouns again because I was like kind of riding on this. Everything was going great. And then I started doing work for a travel company called Olivia Travel, which is an all lesbian travel company. Now, they also only recently, but do authentically include trans men now because they've come to understand, and non binary people, because they've come to, but they're non binary women, right?
Okay.
Like
Yes.
non-binary lesbians they
Yes.
included. And they included trans men because they said, you had been socialized your whole life as a lesbian and then you become a trans man and we want you to be your own self, but you shouldn't have to lose your whole community because you became a trans man.
I
So
love
that's
that.
why they sort of allow that. And they of course allow trans women because they're women. So
Yeah.
that's not a problem.
Yeah.
But the non-binary thing became very tricky. And I was one of their speakers and I was backstage with a bunch of like the old dykes, right? Like the old butches. And they were like, can you tell me about this pronouns thing that you do? And I was like, yeah, God, please don't ask me like elder lesbians, please.
That's a wild way
And
to start. Tell me about this pronouns
I'm
thing
like,
that you
oh my
do.
God. Cause like the last thing you want to do is like hurt like a lesbian in her 60s who's like, really worked hard for all the freedoms in marriage and everything I have, and
Yes.
or like 70s. And I'm like, oh my God. So she's like, okay, I'm going to tell you what I think about it. And then you tell me what you think. And I was like, okay. She's like, I respect if that's how you feel and that's who you are. Good. But why do you think so many people want to be they, them and trans mask and non binary? Is it because young people are embarrassed to be a lesbian? And I was like,
Oh.
oh my God, you sweet woman. She's like,
Oh.
because we fought really hard for Butch. We fought really hard for Dyke. We fought really hard for lesbian. And it feels like a lot of the young people, they'll say they're gay, but they don't want to say they're lesbian. They'll use they, them pronouns. They don't want to say Butch. They don't want to do this. And she's like, sometimes it breaks my heart because I think, are you embarrassed to be a lesbian? And I
Mm.
was like, no, not at all. And she's like, well, maybe someday you throw the she back in there for us old ladies. And I was like, you know what? When I'm here, it's she, her, okay? It's she, her all day while I'm here with
Yes.
you because I'm not embarrassed at all. I'm both non-binary and a lesbian. And she was like,
Yes.
okay, that's good. That makes me feel better. I was just worried that we were like, maybe not as visible or setting as good an example that people didn't want to be in our community anymore. I was like, no, it's not that.
Oof, that's
Isn't that?
heartbreaking. It's actually
I
the
know.
opposite. It's because of what they fought for that we
Right.
feel the
Yep.
freedom and permission to
Yeah.
own this expansive
That's
version
what
of
I said.
ourselves.
I was like, I
Yeah.
couldn't, there is no they, them without you for sure, right? Like there is
Period.
no gender expansion and neo pronouns and everything else without all of the groundwork that was laid by the elder gays, period.
Absolutely.
And I don't want you to feel like we're not appreciative of everything you did or we don't want to be in community with you. We absolutely do. We
Yes.
do. It's all the same, right?
I want to
And
be in
so they were
community with the
working.
lesbians, quite honestly. We
Oh
all
my
look
God, they're the
good.
best. They are the best.
Like,
Listen, these Olivia vacations are so crazy because it's all lesbians, right?
yeah.
And so there's like 700 lesbians buy out the Hard Rock Hotel in Puerto Vallarta or something. And it's
Oh,
just 7 days of no men at all, like no cis men. And I thought that that was the thing that made me feel uncomfortable, like in the pool and everything. I was like, oh, it's the men that make me feel uncomfortable. It's cis women actually, because they're
oh.
so much more judgy and like
Interesting. Yes,
standoffish and
sure.
protective. I have this problem even when I go to the gym. I'm always like, it's just a scar. Like, please don't call the police on me. Like, there's always like getting bullied in the bathroom when you look like me.
Yeah,
But it was the cis women. And so going to this like all lesbian thing, even though it's mostly couples and mostly older people, you just feel like I'm at the pool in my sports bra and board shorts, and everybody else is. I saw 15 different people with top surgery scars today, and nobody asked me a damn question about them because they
Ugh,
know what they are. Like, it's
that feels
very
affirming.
affirming. It's a little expensive, but when you think about the rest that you actually get, like the extra 500 bucks to do an Olivia versus like just going somewhere, I think
Sure.
is very worth it.
Well, you also think about like the ability to rest your brain, right? To not
Hmm.
have to do because I think about we you know it's so natural at this point, but like all of the math that's happening in your head, all of
Hmm.
the things that you're finagling can go away when you're in community that's like really a lot like fully
Yep.
aligned down to the T. So it makes sense that that would be worth the extra money to just like turn it
Yes.
off.
It's
I
why
would
people go to Fire Island, right? Like I used to
yeah.
work on Fire Island as a lesbian, which I do not suggest to anyone. Don't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And oh God, that's for a whole other day. But it's why we do that, right? Because you could just be yourself and you're with people that get you and don't judge you and don't think about anything weird. And it's quite lovely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna try and get you to get me on that cruise though. They call me messy mom for a reason because I really do
See,
feel like I'm supposed to be a lesbian and I just am
we're gonna
cursed with this
go.
love of
Okay,
money.
we're gonna go. It's gonna be great.
Yes,
The other thing you're gonna love about it is that
please.
because it's lesbians, everything ends by like 9:30 PM.
Baby. Yes.
It's like
Yes.
you wake up in the morning, right? And they have
Yeah.
like, all the different arts and crafts and events and things you can go to. You can just go to the pool and hang out.
Yeah.
Then everybody goes to lunch. Then everybody goes to dinner right about 4:35,
Yes.
5:15. Then you get like DJ Mary, or you go see Pat do comedy, or like Jen Colbert, or any of those folks, or Dana
Yeah.
Goldberg. It's all lesbian entertainment, all lesbian everything. So you're
Perfect.
like, yeah, Miss Mary Mac doing everything. And then 9:30, lights out,
Out.
bitch. Time to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Cause the
And all the
boys
lesbians
be
just go back to their hotel rooms and go
I
to sleep.
I
It's
want
perfect.
this. I want this B. The boys be up until the next
Too late.
morning. They be up
Too
until
late.
9, 10 a.m. the next morning, B.
No,
I'm like,
not
where's the
us.
energy?
No,
I
not
can't.
us. Mm-mm.
I love it.
It's
B,
quiet time.
I'm gonna get on that cruise with you. I cannot wait actually. Can I ask you our final three questions that we ask
Sure,
everyone
yeah,
here?
let's do it.
Okay, so what's one thing you're proud of?
Oh gosh, one thing I'm proud of. I want to say that I have maintained my relationships and friendships with like my family and the people that I love and care about, no matter how like this new journey of being like TikTok famous and opportunities have changed my work. It hasn't ever changed me as a person and the things I value and like where
Mm,
I live or who I associate with. Like I am really proud of the fact that I made good decisions about who I surrounded myself with early in my life, and those are
yeah,
still my ride or die people now because I think like, man, it would be hard to be a public figure without those folks who don't give a shit. Like they
period.
do
Yeah,
not care.
yeah, they don't give
They're
a
like,
fuck.
"Oh, you gonna do your
Unfazed.
show tonight?" Ugh.
And they
And I
mock you
know
a
they
little bit.
support me and they love me, but they're like, "Not now. You're
They're not
not
gonna fuck.
under the desk news tonight. We're all doing dishes." And I think
Whenever
that
anyone
that's
says they've
great.
watched or listened to something of mine that's a friend, I'm always surprised. I'm always
Like,
like,
don't,
oh, don't do it.
don't,
Don't
please
do it.
don't.
Please, please.
Yeah.
What's one thing you love about yourself?
Oh, about I make safe, predictable decisions. I think that that
Mm,
is something I really value about myself, and I take very seriously the fact that people see me as a role model and a possibility model and a safe adult, and that's something that matters a lot to me because there are so few safe adults out there, and so I love that most about myself.
I love that. And the
Yeah.
last thing is, how will you commit to protecting your joy?
Oh, I think it comes back to having that foundational safety, like with my wife and our house. She loved me when I had nothing and was like a line cook. She loved me now. And I think having people in your life that value you just because they like you, just they think something about you is special and it's nothing in particular, is a way to protect your joy. There are times when the internet can be very cruel, as you know, it can be very,
Yeah,
very difficult. I mean, I've actually carved out a pretty nice part of the internet and been able to protect that. But it can be very difficult and scary out there, especially with this administration and different things going on. But knowing that I can like go home, she'll take my phone away and we'll just like watch reruns of Greek or like movies from the 90s and like
Yeah,
create a bubble even for a little while. I think that that means I'll be able to maintain my joy.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that. V, this was uh I'm very intentional about these words that I want to choose because I'm feeling a lot. I don't always get to speak to somebody who is non-binary that's also in the public eye. And so it means a lot to share this time and this space with you. And
thank
so I
you.
thank you for taking the time. I thank you for your visibility, for your
Yeah.
heart, for your softness, your kindness, and for keeping your corner of the internet a safe space for all of us. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, friend. It was less of a messy Monday and more of like a I'm gonna go have a good cry in a bath Monday. It was like a
Yes,
healing
a
Monday, which
healing
we all
Monday.
needed.
We need a heal. Listen, we need the healing Mondays we can get. So it was much
Thanks for having me
appreciated.
on. It was so good to chat with y'all. And thanks to everybody who stopped by and said hi. I know you guys could be anywhere tonight and you chose to be with us, and we really appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, friend.
Bye, friends. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you were able to be part of this live. How am I protecting my joy? I think similar to leaning on community, and if I can offer that to you, is that community is everything, whether it's your IRL community, whether it's your internet community, but finding the people who validate you and affirm you. Go to spaces that feel good. If you are in spaces that do not feel good or people who don't make you feel like your best self, then I would just look at that a little differently and see how you can make shifts. Because your joy is part of all of this resistance. Your happiness, your ability to laugh, your ability to cry in a good way, your ability to release, your ability to feel safe is really, really important. And most importantly, if I can add this, how you keep yourself safe up here. What are you thinking about when that brain starts to run in a weird, wild, not so loving way? How quickly can you interrupt it? One of the ways that I interrupt my brain is with music. So I created a playlist. Somebody was asking for a soft playlist, something that inspires softness and love. If you are new to me, we call ourselves hoes, Heaux. It's fancy, and it's someone who commits to the liberation of themselves and others by thoughtfully interrogating their relationship to sex using curiosity, communication, and compassion. And so I created a soft Ho playlist that you can turn on. It's on Spotify. It's on my most recent post, but music is a wonderful way for me to get myself together. Also, Sister Act 2. Anybody else? Sister Act 2? First Wives Club? That really does the thing for me. And deep breaths. Yes, take a walk. Listen, I don't like to camp. Some of y'all like to camp. I'm not a camper, but a nice little walk, no incline, that's me all day, all day. But if you like a little incline, go off, do your thing. And I think that's it for me tonight. This was really incredible, and I'm glad that you're here. And I hope to see you again next week. I'll be talking to Conscious Lee at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Reading, yes, reading, being active, listening to music, all those things. Take care of yourself, please, 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 please. I love you. 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 Have a good night, y'all.